When the sensual therapist helped him break through his emotional fears problems. Taekook fanfiction, it is a pure imaginations of mine, nothing affect the idol's real life, please take it for fun and entertainment only. Are you ready for this beautiful, hot and steamy sensual story? Kim Taehyung had always been aware that something about him was different. 24, he looked like the kind of man who could have anyone he wanted. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a smooth, honey-toned complexion and deep dough-brown eyes that seemed to pull people in without trying. He was often the quiet center of attention wherever he went. His voice was soft but carried an unshakable warmth, and his smile, when he allowed himself to give one, could stop conversations mid-sentence. And yet, beneath the appearance of confidence and calm, Taehyung carried a secret that had haunted him for years. It wasn't that he didn't enjoy intimacy, quite the opposite. His body could respond, his breathing could quicken, his muscles could tense with that slow building heat. But when it came to reaching the final shattering release, his body betrayed him. The moment should have been the pinnacle of pleasure, the sweet surrender into oblivion, yet for Taehyung it was a cruel, empty cliff he could never quite leap from. First, he blamed himself. Maybe he was too distracted, maybe he thought too much, maybe something was wrong with his technique. But as time went on, shame grew in the silence between his failed attempts. He stopped pursuing romantic relationships altogether, terrified of the moment when his partner would look at him with confusion or worse, pity. Late at night, he would search the internet for answers, the dim light of his phone painting his features in pale blue. Forums, medical sites, personal blogs. Most of them gave vague advice about relaxation and mental blocks. But one particular thread caught his attention. If you've tried everything else, try a sensual therapist. Not just a clinical one, a specialist who works with touch, emotion, and physical response. Look for Jungkook. He's the best in the country. The name came up again and again. Jungkook. Posts described him as a man who didn't just treat, he understood. A 5-star rating on every platform. Clients spoke about how he made them feel safe, desired, and unashamed no matter their issues. Taehyung's stomach tightened as he clicked through photos of the man. Jungkook looked younger than Taehyung expected, perhaps late 20s, with midnight black hair falling loosely over his forehead, a jawline sharp enough to cut glass, and eyes so dark they seemed to hold the weight of every secret ever told to him. In his professional portrait, he was dressed in a crisp black shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal veins along his forearms, his expression unreadable yet magnetic. For days, Taehyung hesitated. Wasn't this too intimate? To let a stranger, no, a professional stranger, touch him in ways no one else had, to explore the very problem he'd spent years hiding? But then, one sleepless night, after lying in bed staring at the ceiling with that familiar ache of loneliness in his chest, he clicked the book appointment button. His fingers trembled as he filled in his details, hesitating at the section labeled reason for visit. He typed, deleted, and typed again until he settled on. Difficulty reaching climax despite physical pleasure. When he hit send, his heart pounded like he had just confessed a crime. 2 days later, an email arrived. Mr. Kim, your appointment with Dr. Jungkook is confirmed for Friday, 5 p.m. Please arrive 10 minutes early. The session will last 90 minutes. Location: private therapy suite, Hanamdong. Friday came far too quickly. The therapy center was nothing like the sterile clinics Taehyung had imagined. The reception was warm, almost like a luxury spa. Soft lighting, faint music, the air scented faintly with vanilla and sandalwood. And then he saw him. Jungkook stepped out from a side room, dressed in a fitted black turtleneck and tailored trousers, his presence filling the space effortlessly. His eyes locked on Taehyung's immediately, steady, calm, but with a hint of something deeper, something that seemed to say, "I see you." "Kim Taehyung." Jungkook's voice was low, velvety, with a cadence that made Taehyung's skin prickle. Taehyung nodded, suddenly aware of every breath he took. "Come in," Jungkook said, holding the door open to a softly lit room where shadows danced on the walls. From flickering candles. "We'll talk first, and then if you're comfortable, we'll begin." Taehyung swallowed hard as he stepped inside, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. The therapy suite was unlike anything Taehyung had ever imagined. The room was large but felt intimate, wrapped in dim amber light. A soft rug muffled their footsteps, and a low couch sat in the corner beside a small table holding a tray of herbal tea. The faint hum of instrumental music filled the silence. Slow piano, the kind that seemed to ease the mind without demanding attention. Jungkook motioned for Taehyung to sit, then settled across from him in a deep armchair. He picked up a sleek tablet, but his eyes stayed on Taehyung, never breaking contact for long. "Before we do anything physical," Jungkook began, his tone professional yet warm, "I want to understand your experience in detail. Everything we discuss is confidential. There's no judgment here, only understanding." "Agreed." Taehyung nodded, fingers tightening in his lap. "Agreed. Good." Jungkook leaned forward slightly, resting his forearms on his knees. "Tell me, when did you first notice the difficulty?" Taehyung hesitated. Talking about this out loud felt raw, but Jungkook's calm presence gave him the courage to start. "I think maybe when I was 19. I could get aroused, I could enjoy everything up to a point, but when it came to actually finishing," he trailed off, heat rushing to his ears. Jungkook's voice softened, coaxing him onward. "It didn't happen?" Taehyung shook his head. "No matter how good it felt, my body just wouldn't. I'd get so close, but it was like hitting a wall." "Any pain?" Jungkook asked. "No," Taehyung admitted. "Just frustration. And after a while, embarrassment. I avoided intimacy with other people because I didn't want to see their face when they realized I couldn't." Jungkook was quiet for a moment, studying him, not with pity but with a depth that made Taehyung's chest tighten. "You've been carrying this alone for years." It wasn't a question, but Taehyung answered anyway. "Yes." Jungkook set the tablet aside. "Taehyung, what you're experiencing is not uncommon. Then it's a mix of physical conditioning and mental barriers. My work focuses on bridging the two, using guided, sensual exercises to retrain the body's responses while helping the mind let go of control." Taehyung's breath caught at the word sensual. The idea of someone, this man, guiding him so intimately made his pulse quicken. "You will always have control," Jungkook continued, reading his expression. "You tell me what feels comfortable. And I stop the moment you want me to." But the more open you are, the faster we'll reach results. Do you think you can give me that trust? Taehyung's throat was dry, but he managed a quiet yes. Jungkook stood, moving toward a low, padded table in the center of the room. It was wide enough to lie on, draped in soft cream-colored linen. Then let's start with something simple today, just body awareness. Clothes stay on for now. Taehyung stepped over, feeling oddly exposed despite being fully dressed. Lie down on your back, Jungkook instructed gently. Close your eyes. Taehyung obeyed, his heartbeat loud in his ears. He heard Jungkook's quiet footsteps, felt the air shift as he came closer. A moment later, Jungkook's hands were on him, not in any sexual way yet, but in a slow, deliberate glide over his shoulders and down his arms as if mapping him. His touch was firm but unhurried, each movement intentional. Focus only on the feeling, Jungkook murmured. Don't think about anything else. Where is your body tense? My chest, my stomach, Taehyung admitted. Jungkook's palms moved there, pressing lightly, then releasing in a rhythmic pattern. His voice stayed low, almost a whisper. Breathe with me. In and out. Let your body know it's safe. The warmth of Jungkook's hands seeped through fabric and skin, unraveling knots Taehyung hadn't known were there. After several minutes, Jungkook said, That's enough for today's first step. Next session, if you're ready, we'll explore direct stimulation to understand where the block occurs. I'll guide you, but you'll lead the pace. Taehyung sat up slowly, feeling oddly lightheaded. Not from embarrassment, but from the strange, lingering heat where Jungkook had touched him. As Jungkook walked him to the door, their eyes met once more. You did well today, Jungkook said softly. Trust yourself. And trust me. The words echoed in Taehyung's mind long after he left, his body still remembering the weight of Jungkook's hands. The following Friday, Taehyung arrived at the therapy suite 15 minutes early, though he'd never admit it to Jungkook. His nerves were worse than before, his palms damp, his mind caught between anticipation and the fear of what might happen if he failed again. The receptionist smiled warmly. You can go right in, Mr. Kim. Dr. John is expecting you. When Taehyung stepped inside, Jungkook was adjusting a folded towel on the padded table. He wore a loose black shirt today, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. His hair slightly tousled as though he'd run his hands through it before Taehyung arrived. You're early, Jungkook said with a small smile. I didn't want to be late, Taehyung replied, his voice quieter than he intended. That tells me you've been thinking about this all week, Jungkook said as he gestured toward the table. Good. It means you're ready. Taehyung swallowed hard as Jungkook continued. Today we'll begin skin-to-skin contact. I'll be using my hands to help you map your pleasure zones. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, tell me and I'll stop immediately. Understood. Yes, Taehyung breathed. Jungkook's tone softened. Then undress to your comfort level. You can keep your lower garments on for now. Taehyung's fingers hesitated at the hem of his sweater, but eventually he pulled it over his head, followed by his shirt. The cool air of the room contrasted sharply with the heat already building in his chest. Lie down on your back, Jungkook instructed. Taehyung obeyed, his gaze catching on the flicker of candlelight before closing his eyes. The first touch came unexpectedly, Jungkook's palms warm and firm resting on his bare stomach. He didn't move right away, simply letting Taehyung feel the weight and heat of contact. "Breathe," Jungkook murmured. "In and out. Let your body sink into the table." Taehyung inhaled shakily, the warmth of those hands seeming to seep deeper with each exhale. Jungkook's touch began to move slowly, up along Taehyung's ribs, fingers splayed, his thumbs brushing over sensitive skin just beneath his chest. Then down, tracing the faint line of muscle along his abdomen before circling his navel in a lazy, deliberate motion. "Tell me what you feel," Jungkook said quietly. "Warmth," Taehyung admitted. "And my heart is beating faster." "Good. That's your body responding. Don't chase the feeling, just let it come." Jungkook's hands slid higher over Taehyung's chest, his thumbs brushing lightly over his nipples. Drawing an involuntary gasp, he lingered there, applying just enough pressure to tease a reaction without rushing. Taehyung's breathing grew shallow, and his fingers curled into the linen beneath him. "That sound you just made," Jungkook said softly. "Is your body telling me it's awake? Stay with it. Let me lead you." The therapist's hands moved lower again, skimming the line of Taehyung's waistband but never crossing it, as though testing his patience, coaxing his arousal to build in slow, steady waves rather than spikes. By the time Jungkook's fingers traced along the inner edges of his hips, Taehyung felt a tension coil in his stomach. Not the frustrating wall he knew so well, but something looser, warmer. Jungkook noticed. "That's it, don't hold back. And let your body take over." It was almost too much, this deliberate pace, this controlled temptation. Taehyung felt his lips part on a quiet, unguarded moan, and Jungkook's hands paused as if savoring the sound. "Your voice is beautiful when you let it out," Jungkook murmured. When the session ended, Taehyung's entire body hummed with a strange, pleasant heaviness. He hadn't climaxed. Jungkook had stopped well before that point, but for the first time, he didn't feel the crushing disappointment that usually followed. Instead, he felt hope. At the door, Jungkook's gaze held his for a long moment. "Next time," he said slowly, "we'll go further. If you're ready." Taehyung's answer came before he could think. "I'll be ready." By the time the third Friday came, Taehyung didn't feel like the same man who had nervously stepped into Jungkook's office for the first time. Something had shifted, subtle but undeniable. The shame was still there, somewhere deep inside, but it no longer felt heavy enough to crush him. Jungkook's voice, his hands, the way he never looked at him with pity, all of it had started to replace fear with anticipation. When Taehyung arrived, Jungkook was waiting by the padded table. The room smelled faintly of sandalwood again, but the candles were lower, their light softer, almost like dusk. "Today," Jungkook said, "we'll work toward the final release. No pressure. If you feel yourself locking up, tell me and I'll guide you through it." Taehyung swallowed hard and nodded. "I trust you." Those 3 words made Jungkook's mouth curve slightly, not a smile but something close. "Undress to your comfort level," Jungkook instructed. This time, Taehyung didn't hesitate. He shed his sweater and shirt, then paused only briefly before sliding his pants down, leaving only his briefs. His pulse was quick, but the heat beneath his skin was no longer embarrassment, it was something heavier, warmer. He lay on his back, feeling the table's softness under him, and closed his eyes. The first touch came at his thigh, Jungkook's warm hand cupping it, fingers spreading gently before stroking upward. He didn't rush, instead tracing circles that moved gradually toward the inside, coaxing the muscles to loosen. "Breathe for me," Jungkook murmured. "Slow in and out." Taehyung obeyed, the sound of his own breathing mingling with the faint music in the background. Jungkook's hands traveled up, brushing deliberately close to the edge of Taehyung's briefs before gliding to his stomach. His thumbs pressed into the muscles there, massaging slowly, each pass sending a subtle shiver downward. "You're already responding," Jungkook observed in that low, velvety tone. "That's good. Don't think about the end. Just feel this moment." His fingertips skimmed Taehyung's hip bones, then, without warning, slipped beneath the waistband of his briefs, palms warm against bare skin. Taehyung's breath caught. "Is this okay?" Jungkook asked softly. "Yes," Taehyung whispered. The briefs were eased down, the cool air making Taehyung acutely aware of his own vulnerability. But Jungkook's gaze, when Taehyung dared to look, wasn't clinical. It was focused, intent, almost reverent. Jungkook began a slow, deliberate stroke, firm enough to build pressure, but with a rhythm that made Taehyung's toes curl. His free hand rested on Taehyung's stomach, grounding him, keeping him anchored in the sensation instead of letting his mind drift to that old fear. "That wall you're used to," Jungkook said quietly, "isn't there to protect you anymore. You don't have to stop yourself." Taehyung's breathing turned ragged, his fingers clutching at the linen beneath him. He could feel the pressure building, familiar yet different. It wasn't rushing toward him like before. Jungkook was holding him there, balancing him right on the edge, his strokes changing pace just enough to keep him from tipping over too soon. "Let go," Jungkook murmured. "You're safe here. Let it happen." The words sank into him, threading through the pleasure until something inside finally loosened. The tension that had always pulled him back before released. Came like a wave, sudden and overwhelming, his first true climax in years. His body trembled, breath shuddering as the heat broke through, spilling over with a mix of relief and raw sensation that left him dazed. Jungkook didn't stop right away. His strokes slowed, easing Taehyung down gently from the peak until his muscles softened beneath the therapist's hands. When it was over, Taehyung lay there, chest heaving, eyes unfocused. He felt light, almost dizzy, as though some heavy lock inside him had been forced open. Jungkook draped a warm towel over him, his voice low. "You did it, Taehyung. You let yourself have it." Taehyung closed his eyes, a faint, incredulous smile tugging at his lips. For the first time in years, he felt whole. To be continued. Wait for the second hot and spicy part. What would happen in that dimly light candle room? What will happen next? Wait for it. Thank you for watching.